Welcome everyone. Today we are talking about the battling the misinformation and that is becoming epidemic nowadays. If you want to make your habit to know better, you need to learn how to be safe from all these misinformation. So in this video, I am going to walk through some neuroscience knowledge that will massively improve your recognition power to protect from misinformation. And after watching this, I guarantee you will think differently about the way avoid all those misinformations. By the way, I am Dr. Shambhu Yadav, a research scientist at Harvard Medical School. Alright, let's dive in. We are all scrolling on our feed, maybe going through our group chats, and suddenly there is a message, article, or post that just sound like off. One of those things that raise red flag but might also make us think, could this be true? This is how misinformation is sneaked in. It's so delicate that before you know it, we might believe something that isn't even remotely accurate. And it's not just about the social media. Misinformation is everywhere, blending with this what's true, and it can feel tough to tell them apart. So let's break down how misinformation works, why it sticks, and just like how we build our immunity to viruses, how we can strengthen our defense against all these misinformation. The way misinformation gets to us is honestly pretty fascinating and that pretty sneaky as well. Our brain are wired to recognize pattern, draw conclusion. So when we come across something that feels familiar, we might not even question it. Our mind naturally fill in the gaps based on what we have already heard or seen before or experienced before. So when something slightly incorrect popped up, it doesn't take much for us to fall for it. Even more, sometimes misinformation is shared by the people we trust, like friend or family, who mean well but didn't check the source where it coming from. And this is actually one of the reasons why misinformation can feel so personal and convincing. If someone close to us believe it, we are more likely to give it the benefit of doubt too. But what is even trickier is that misinformation isn't always wild, completely false claim. A lot of it has some truth but has been amplified, misinterpreted, or taken out of context. Our attention naturally fall into the thing that seems unusual or alarming. So when misinformation plays to our emotion, fear, outrage, or curiosity, we are more likely to engage with that. And once we do, those algorithms on the social media platform and search engine pick up on it and start feeding us more of the same. Before we know it, we are in bit of an echo chamber, hearing the same thing over and over, which makes them feel more real. Now let's talk about why misinformation sticks. For starters, it taps into the emotion, making it more memorable. Our brain are built to remember things, right? And that affect us emotionally, especially if they make us feel something strongly. So misinformation play right to this by amplifying things that feel more important or more risky. Say we come across the headline that sound really drastic. It might make us feel like it's urgent to know more about this. And since our brain are also naturally wired to seek out information that feels relevant to us or could help us stay safe and latch onto it, even if it's only half true. The misinformation is also designed to feel easy to understand and quick to digest. Think about it. If you are scrolling and see long, detailed articles versus a simple memes, or infographic? Which one are you more likely to remember or even share? Misinformation creators know this, so they package it in a way that catchy and bite-sized. Plus, there is a psychological effect called cognitive ease that make us more likely to believe things we can process quickly. If a message is repeated often enough, it's a start to feel familiar and our mind associated that familiar with truth. And that's why even if we know something might be false, seeing it again and again can make us subconsciously more accepting of it. Our online behavior also gives misinformation a fertile ground to spread. Like algorithm, whether on social media or search engine, tend to be promote content that keeps us engaged. Content that is controversial or sensational or even deceives tends to get more click and shares, and so it's boosted further by all the algorithm which belong to the platforms. And this creates feedback loop where misleading or amplified content is constantly in front of us. It's almost like a building a bubble around ourselves, reinforcing what we already think or fear, and that bubble can be tough to burst. Now, we can't always prevent ourselves from the coming across misinformation, but we can definitely build up our mental defense against it. And this starts with something called information hygiene. It's similar to the physical hygiene. This is somehow like a mental hygiene, which is basically keeping our mind clear of unverified or sensational information. Just like we wash our hands to avoid getting sick, we can fact check before believing or sharing things. Developing a habit for checking the source, verifying fact with a trusted organization, and looking at multiple sources of information. All this can act as a kind of filter that stops misinformation from taking hold in our minds. There is also something to be said about managing our emotional response to news and content. If you find ourselves feeling extremely outraged, afraid, or overjoyed about something we read or something we watched, it might be a sign that we should slow down and verify those information. These kinds of strong reactions are exactly what misinformation is designed to evoke. By taking a second to question why we are reacting a certain way, we can get some distance from the emotional pool of misinformation and approach it objectively. So building this immunity also means becoming aware of our own biases. We all have opinion and perspective, right? Shaped by our experiences. And it's natural to fall towards the information that confirm those beliefs. And this is called confirmation bias. And it's something misinformation often exploited. But once we are aware of all these biases, we can make a conscious effort to challenge them. Reading different viewpoints, even if you don't agree with them, can help us avoid getting stuck in an echo chamber and make us less likely to fall for the misinformation that play to our pre-existing beliefs. One of the best things we can do to guard against misinformation is to develop a kinds of mental toolkits for evaluating sources and claims. And this includes things like checking if a source is reputable or credible, seeing if other reliable outlets of reporting the same thing, and examining the language used in this information. For example, credible sources usually avoid using overly emotional or inflammatory language, while the misinformation often relies on the shock values. They try to make us fear and anxious. So when we learn to recognize these red flags, we start becoming more daunting of information that just doesn't add up. Misinformation is only going to become more sophisticated, especially with the technology like artificial intelligence, and that can create extremely realistic content. And that's why the learning to think critically and question things we encounter online is that become more crucial. It's not about the daunting everything or becoming paranoid. It's about the developing a healthy escapism. Imagine our minds as a filter that always at work, asking questions like, who is sharing this information? Why are they sharing this? What might they want to feel or believe on it? The bottom line is that misinformation thrives on our natural tendencies to trust, to feel strongly, and to look for patterns. But by building our mental immunity, we are not just protecting ourselves, we are helping to stop the spread of all those misinformation together. When we become more disconcerting and responsible in the way we react or interact with the information, we can influence others around us to do the same. It's almost like being vaccinated against a virus. If enough of us build immunity to misinformation, it's a spread weekend and our collective understanding of the world stay healthier. In the end, it's about the empowering ourselves to be control of the information we accept and share. Our minds are our best tools, and when we use them wisely, misinformation does not stand a chance. Alright, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.